Oh my gosh, it is so good to be back. It has been, gosh, I don't know, maybe 17, 16 months since I made my last video. For those of you who don't know me, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy that you have joined me here. My name is Jennifer Schmidt. I go by Divinely Jennifer here on YouTube, and I am an intuitive astrologer and medical intuitive, I like to say. I also have a background, though, in nursing and naturopathy. So I try to give a more, if you will, holistic perspective about how we sometimes look at astrology and our health and all sorts of things. And this is the first in a little short three-part series that I'm doing to reintroduce myself to you and some of the things that have been happening for me in the last couple of years. It's been crazy, all the changes. And so this series is really about some shifts that I'm making in the way I look at astrology and how it relates to our health. And what came up for me in the immense, immense loss of my father a couple of years ago. Can't believe it's been almost 2.5 years now, but my dad and I were super close. And in the decade before he died, I knew, I would joke around that his passing was just going to shatter me because I loved and appreciated him so much. And yet, I could not have imagined the intense and immense grief that I felt the night he took his last breath in that moment as I urged him to go to the light, Dad, after just 36 short hours on home hospice. And in the immediate weeks after his death, I didn't have time to grieve. Nothing prepares you for the work involved after someone passes. You got to contact the attorney, get and distribute copies of the death certificate, organize the cremation, closing and moving accounts, and notifying friends and family. And plus, my mom was still recovering from a bad fall and surgery the month before. So while all these things were a lot to carry, they gave me something to focus on instead of my sadness at losing his loving presence. But then the unexpected started to happen. And a month after saying goodbye to the greatest man I have ever known, I returned to hot yoga classes at my favorite studio. This is when I was still living in the Phoenix, Scottsdale area. And I needed the love and solace of my community. Well, during the quiet shavasanas of the 26 and 2 floor sequence, if you're familiar with hot yoga, you're lying on the floor, you're recovering from the intensity of the standing poses. And I started to see, feel, and hear my dad. I could not hide my tears. I tell you, I'd be lying there and I'd just be crying as silently as possible. And I missed him so much. And every day I was trying to go to yoga, every day he would come to me. And so after several times of experiencing him in this way, I asked him why he always came to me then during that part of yoga. And he said, because that's when you're still. That moment cracked me wide open. My grief didn't vanish, but my perception really shifted. My perception around my grief and what I was feeling shifted so much because even for me, as someone who I consider myself an intuitive, someone who has often felt empathy and connections to others that may not make logical, intellectual brain sense, I began to realize that there was so much more happening than what my spirit and my brain could understand. And something began to bloom inside me. Through his loving presence and his guidance, I got these subtle whispers and patterns and insights. They wove together inside me, and I would journal and just try to write down and capture all this information that I was receiving because I was channeling a new way of merging astrology and health and healing. And I was so excited to share it with my clients, share it with the world here on YouTube with everybody. But to my great disappointment, it wasn't time yet. I was so bummed. I wanted to bring this into the world so bad. And, God just said, no, not yet. And so I had to force myself to put it aside. And, I'd planted the seed, but then I had to focus on other work. And I had to trust and surrender that grace would urge me forward when I was ready. And when this new process was ready, this new way of seeing how astrology could be, how health and healing could be, and when you merge them together, how incredibly powerful that could be. I'm curious to hear if you'll put in the comments below how grief has brought you gifts into your own life. And have your own loved ones, visited you since their passing? How have you experienced them differently and felt their presence with you, maybe as a guardian or just serendipities and things that just felt like they couldn't be coincidence? Please comment below to share with me. I can't wait to see what you have to say. And I'll share more about Grace's divine timing and what started emerging for me and for this process in my next video. And if you want to find out what happens in part 2, please subscribe so you don't miss it. But for now, I simply wanted you to know that something magical has really taken root and how that happened. And it happened in the anguish of my grief and in the stillness of yoga and in the love between a father and a daughter, and a love that continues to grow and evolve under the guidance of God, source, creator, the universe, whatever you want to call this beautiful, omnipotent energy of love that looks after us all. Thanks so much for listening.